My beloved child, do not let your soul rush to conclude that the quiet days are a sign that I have taken my eyes off you. There are seasons when I do not answer in the way you expect, yet not a single tear of yours falls without my seeing it. Not a single sigh of yours dissolves into the darkness of night without my hearing it. When you quietly keep your heart pure amid words of judgment, when you choose to walk gently, even though something within you has once been wounded, when you refuse to answer with bitterness, even though you have every reason to justify yourself, it is precisely in that hidden place that I am recording a testimony no one can erase. You think you are being forgotten, but in truth, you are being covered. You think no one sees your faithfulness, but I have seen the deepest motives of your heart. As it is written, the Lord looks down from heaven, he sees all the children of man. Psalm 33:13. So do not fear that your quiet labor will vanish like dust scattered by the wind. What is sown in tears will one day blossom in the light. I want you to understand that being slowed down is not always a hindrance. Sometimes it is my hand holding you back from stepping into what is not yet appointed for its proper time. There are doors that, if opened too early, would pull you into things you are not yet steady enough to carry. There are promises that, if given while the foundation is still fragile, would become a burden instead of a blessing. Therefore, I have allowed you to pass through corridors that seemed endlessly long, not to exhaust you, but to make your steps more firmly established. I have allowed you to learn how to trust when you cannot yet see, how to worship before you have received, how to stand still when every part of you wants to run in search of an answer. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7 is not a call to remain motionless in despair, but an invitation to enter mature trust, where your soul knows that the one who holds the timing is also holding you. There are times when you see others moving far ahead while you seem to remain circling the same old place. You see them being called by name, recognized, and given open paths, while you still have to live with silences no one explains. But my child, do not compare the journey I have written for you with the pages I am writing for someone else. A seed does not sprout according to the cheers of the crowd. It sprouts in the soil, in darkness, in a hidden place where no one applauds. Yet it is precisely there, beneath the ground, that its roots take hold deeply. If you only keep looking at the surface, you will think nothing is happening. But I see the roots spreading through your faith. And when the season comes, you will not merely rise to be seen, you will stand firm against strong winds. Because what I am building in you is not a fading appearance, but the endurance of a soul refined through fire. Remember Joseph, my beloved child. He dreamed of great things, but the road that led to his elevation passed through the pit, the house of slavery, and the prison in the eyes of men. Those years were failure, delay, and injustice, but in my hands, they were a school of governance. If Joseph had entered the palace while his heart was still filled with bitterness, power could have hardened him, but after seasons of being misunderstood, he learned the tenderness of mercy. By the day I brought him before Pharaoh, he was no longer merely a young man who could speak of dreams, but a man carrying wisdom to save an entire nation. As Scripture says, the Lord was with Joseph, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Genesis 39:23. My presence did not leave him in the prison. In the same way, my presence has not left you in the season of waiting. The place you thought was confinement, I can turn into preparation for the day you are sent forth. Therefore, do not look at the wounds of the past as evidence that you have been disadvantaged. I did not allow what you went through to become a final sentence. I use it as material to build depth within you. The times you were misunderstood taught you not to live by praise, The times you were left behind taught you to find refuge in me. The times you had to remain silent have made your words carry greater weight in the days to come, because they will no longer come from reaction, but from wisdom refined through fire. The testing of your faith produces patience, James 1:3. And that patience does not make you smaller, but makes you mature, clear, and full of authority, clothed in humility. I do not waste a single season of your life. Even on the days when you thought you were merely trying to survive, I was still quietly building something deeper than your strength could understand. You also need to know that I do not hurry to vindicate according to the impatient rhythm of man. I do not act to satisfy haste, but to fulfill righteousness. There are times when you want everyone to understand immediately, when you want the truth to be brought to light immediately, when you want what is wrong to be corrected immediately. But I see beyond that moment. I do not only want you to be recognized by others, I want you to be free from the need to be recognized by everyone. When you no longer need to chase after human defense, you will stand in a deeper peace, knowing that the righteous judge is holding the record of your life in his hand. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. Psalm 37:5. You surrender not because you are weak, but because you have learned that my hand is more precise than every effort you make to protect yourself. Then there will come a time when the things once hidden will be placed under the light, not so that you may become proud, not so that you may prove yourself greater than anyone, but so that my faithfulness may be seen through your life. When I lift you up, I do not only elevate your position, I also deepen your understanding of me. You will realize that I was never late. I only came at the moment when the fruit could endure the longest, the healing could reach the deepest, and my name could be glorified most clearly. Like the farmer who patiently waits for the early and latter rains, you are also learning holy perseverance. What I am preparing is not a passing moment, but a new season with a firm foundation. When the door opens, you will not enter like someone startled by surprise, but like one who has been trained in silence, kept from pride, and formed to know that every good thing comes from me. Therefore, my beloved child, wipe away your tears and let your heart rest in my faithfulness. Do not curse the season of waiting, for that very season has preserved you from things that were not yet yours. Do not despise the small days, for within them I place the first stones of something great. Do not fear that your cry has been lost somewhere in the heavens, for I heard you the very first time you called. Before they call, I will answer while they are still speaking. I will hear Isaiah 65:24. You are not a child left outside the door. You are my child, kept by me, taught by me, led by me, and prepared by me for a revelation at the appointed time. Continue to walk in gentleness. Keep your heart in purity, and trust that what I have begun in you, I will bring to full completion. When that day comes, you will look back and understand that no silence was meaningless, no delay was forgetfulness, and no long night passed without me being there, sitting close beside you, watching over your soul until the dawn. My beloved child, let your heart stop wrestling with the things that have not yet been revealed, for not everything I am doing must appear immediately before your eyes in order to be real. There are works of mine that are like roots, quietly sinking deep beneath the ground. You do not hear them moving. You do not see their form growing. Yet, in that hidden place, life is preparing for a season of new leaves. Therefore, do not let what is still unclear cause you to lose the peace already given to you. You do not need to know every detail in order to keep walking. You only need to know that the one who is leading you is faithful. As it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. I have not called you to live by control, but by surrender. When you no longer try to grasp every answer tightly, your hands will open wide to receive what I place in them at the appointed time. Remember that standing still in me is not helplessness. It is a profound form of obedience. There are times when you think you must do more, say more, run faster, and explain yourself more. Yet I invite you to stand firm in holy stillness. When the people of Israel stood before the deep sea, what they needed most was not the strength of their arms, but the faith not to turn back. The word had been spoken, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, Exodus 14:13. Because there are battles I do not allow you to win by striving, but by trusting. If you remain in panic, you will only hear the sound of the chariots behind you. But if you stand in me, you will hear the waters beginning to part before you. My child, there are paths that open only when your soul stops trembling and allows me to act. What you have offered up in the days of solitude has not disappeared into emptiness. Every prayer, every time you tried to keep your heart tender, every tear that fell in a place no one knew about, has become a seed before me. You thought you were only lamenting, but I heard within it a covenant. You thought the long nights were merely the place of your weakness, but I used those very nights to deepen the well within you. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Psalm 126:5. And that word is not merely a distant comfort, it is a law of my kingdom. No tear offered in faith becomes useless. No cry lifted toward me is forgotten. The things you thought had fallen to the ground have been gathered by me and placed into the foundation of what I am building. But I am not only repairing the circumstances around you, I am doing a deeper work within you. I am not only bringing you through the storm so that you may be safe, but also so that you may become one who knows how to guide others when they face their own storms. The wounds that once silenced you will no longer govern your voice. They will become places through which my light shines. The roads you once walked in tears will one day become a map for another soul that is lost. You were not called merely to survive the trial. You were called to carry the testimony of transformation. As it is written, you are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. That light is not something you create by yourself, but my life reflected through a heart that has allowed me to heal it. I want you to look again at the story of Ruth, the woman who once stood amid loss, foreignness, and uncertainty. She left what was familiar and followed Naomi on a path with no clear guarantee. Before her eyes there was no throne, no honor, no future already written in light. Before her there was only faithfulness in each small step. Yet, in the field of gleaning, which seemed so ordinary, I had arranged a life-changing encounter. Ruth did not know that every humble step she took was bringing her into the lineage from which the Redeemer would come. As she once said, "Your people shall be my people, and your God my God," Ruth 1:16. A faithful choice made in the hidden place opened a legacy brighter than human eyes could see. My child, in the same way, the small steps you are taking in obedience may be connecting you to a plan far greater than what you currently understand. Therefore, do not despise the present season just because it has not yet taken on a radiant form. There are fields of gleaning that are actually gateways into redemption. There are days when you are only doing small things, yet, in my eyes, they are stones being set into the path of destiny. As you continue to be faithful in what is before you, I am quietly connecting what lies behind the scenes. As you keep your heart pure, even before you see the reward, I am making your soul spacious enough to contain what is coming. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. Luke 16:10. So, do not think that your quiet decisions have no value. Heaven measures the depth of a life not only by great moments, but by steadfast obedience in places where no one applauds. There is a calling resounding over your life. Not the noise of the world, not the quickly changing opinions of people, but my voice, the voice of the one who knew your name before you knew yourself. I do not call you according to the past that wounded you, nor according to the labels others once placed upon you, nor according to the seasons when you thought you had failed. I call you according to the purpose I placed within you from the beginning. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. And when I call your name, no darkness has the right to define you anymore. You do not walk as one begging to be accepted. You walk as one who has already been known. You do not live as one left outside the door. You live as a child in the Father's house, loved, kept, and sent forth. Then you will realize that what I do through you is often greater than what I do for you. The blessing I give does not stop at soothing your private pain. It will flow outward as strength for many others. The peace I place within you will become an atmosphere for those who are weary. The wisdom formed through trials will become a timely word for someone standing in uncertainty. The perseverance you learned in the hidden place will become evidence that I still uphold those who put their hope in me. We are comforted in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction, with the comfort with which God has comforted us. 2 Corinthians 1:4. Do you see, my beloved child, even pain that has been entrusted into my hands can become healing oil. So lift up your heart and no longer bow your head beneath the shadow of doubt, not because every question has received an explanation, but because you know the one who holds tomorrow, not because the road before you is entirely smooth, but because I go before you, making a way where there has been no way. When you feel weak, remember that my strength is made perfect in weakness. When you feel small, remember that I often choose humble things to glorify my name. When you fear that you are not ready, remember that I do not call you and then leave you to manage everything alone. I call you and walk with you. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. So what I have begun in you will not be abandoned halfway. My beloved child, now keep walking, not with the haste of anxiety, but with the steadiness of one who is being led. Let each day of your life become a quiet response that says, I trust you, even though I do not yet see everything. Let every small choice become a brick in the house of faith I am building within you. Let your heart rest in me, because everything that belongs to you has been placed in the hands of the one who never falls asleep. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You are not delayed. You are being set into the right rhythm. You are not outside the flow. You are right in the midst of my work. And when the time I have appointed opens before you, you will understand that every prayer, every season of waiting, and every quiet step of faithfulness has helped bring you to the place I promised. Stand firm, my child, for I am acting, and what I do will be more beautiful than what you once prayed for, deeper than what you once imagined, and more enduring than every fear that ever tried to hold you back. My beloved child, listen with the deepest part of your soul, for there are things I am doing that do not appear immediately before your eyes, yet their power is moving more strongly than anything you can measure. You often look at your circumstances and think that everything is standing still, but in the unseen realm, I am arranging, protecting, removing, and restoring. Hands that do not belong to the earth are being sent to open the way for the word I have spoken over your life. Obstacles that seemed immovable are being shaken from their roots. Words of opposition that once quietly placed pressure upon your mind are losing their weight, because my authority has entered that place. As it is written, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Psalm 34:7. Therefore, Do not think you must withstand everything by your own strength. You are more covered than you realize, guarded more deeply than you feel, and guided more precisely than you can see. There are battles I do not allow you to witness with your eyes, because if you saw them in full, your heart might tremble before their magnitude. But my beloved child, what you do not see does not mean there is no intervention. In the hours when you think you are merely sleeping through a heavy night, I am still watching. In the days when you think your prayer is only a faint whisper, I have received it as a fragrance rising before the throne. In the moments when you no longer know how to resist, I have raised a holy hedge around you, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. That word is not a distant image, but the truth of how I keep those who belong to me. You do not walk alone through the valley. You do not pass alone through the darkness. The protection of heaven goes with you. Even if your ears have not heard the sound of wings, even if your eyes have not seen the gleam of the sword. Remember the prophet Elisha when he was in Dothan. The city was surrounded by the enemy, and his servant was terrified because he saw only spears, chariots, and opposing forces before him. But Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." 2 Kings 6:17. And when his spiritual eyes were opened, the servant saw the mountain full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding Elisha. Do you see? My beloved child, reality is not only what the natural eye records. There are armies of mine that have already taken their positions before you even knew you were surrounded. There are protections already established before you had time to name the danger. There are victories that began in the holy realm before you saw the first sign upon the earth. Therefore, do not let what you are seeing cause you to forget what I am doing. When my justice moves, it does not resemble the anger of man. I do not come merely to tear down, I come to set all things back into truth. I do not only drive away darkness, I restore order where light must reign. The things that were once distorted about you will not forever hold the authority to define you. The false words that once settled over you like a layer of dust will be blown away by the holy wind. The memories that once made you bow your head will no longer sit upon the throne of your heart. As it is written, the Lord works righteousness and justice for all who are oppressed. Psalm 103:6. My justice is not only punishment for what is wrong, but also restoration for what has been wounded. I do not merely rescue you from the narrow place, I bring you back into your true identity, where you stand before me not as one defeated, but as a redeemed, beloved, and named child. Therefore, do not continue speaking about yourself in the language that pain taught you. Do not call yourself abandoned just because you were once left by others. Do not call yourself unworthy just because there was a season when you were despised. Do not call yourself weak just because you once wept in the night. I do not use old wounds to name you. I call you by a name born from love and covenant. I have called you by your name, you are mine. Isaiah 43:1. And when I have declared that you belong to me, no accusation has the authority to rewrite your identity. The past may explain a few roads you have walked, but it has no right to prophesy where you will go. What defines you is not the place where you fell, but the hand that lifted you up. In this restoration, I do not only wipe away your tears, I also change the posture of your soul. I do not want you to keep moving forward while still bowing your head like someone who must ask darkness for permission to live freely. I do not want you to wear a new garment while still thinking like someone bound in chains. When I deliver, I also teach you how to stand upright. When I heal, I also teach you how to speak differently. When I open the door, I also make your feet accustomed to the spacious path. As it is written, you have set my feet in a broad place. Psalm 31:8. That broad place is not only an outward circumstance, but an inward space where you are no longer suffocated by fear, regret, or shame. You are allowed to breathe deeply. You are allowed to live in peace. You are allowed to step into the new without apologizing because I have shown you mercy. Perhaps you once became accustomed to explaining too much, defending yourself, and proving that your heart was not what others thought it was. But my child, there is a season when I allow you to remain silent, not because you are wrong, but because I am preparing a kind of testimony that needs no argument. When true light comes, it does not need to shout to prove that it is light. It only needs to shine. And darkness withdraws by itself. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. In the same way, when you abide in me, your life will carry evidence deeper than self-defense. Your peace will speak. Your patience will speak. The change in your eyes, in your voice, and in the way you face pressure will speak. Not so that you may seek applause, but so that people may recognize that I have touched you. I am marking you for a new season. But that mark is not outward display. It is a seal in the spirit, a quiet confirmation that hell recognizes and heaven bears witness to. When you understand who you are in me, you will no longer be dragged into every small argument. You do not need to lower yourself to the level of accusations in order to answer every arrow. There are things you overcome simply by continuing to walk in the light. There are noises that only grow weaker when you stop feeding them with your attention. Put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. Ephesians 4:24. That new self does not live by old reactions, does not breathe with old bitterness, and does not define itself by an old history of wounds. That new self walks in truth, and truth makes it free. Therefore, my beloved child, rise with a restored posture. Do not stand like someone who has just escaped the storm but still believes they belong to the ruins. You do not belong to ruin. You belong to life. Do not walk like someone who is only hoping not to be hurt again. Walk like one who knows I have placed light within their heart to illuminate the way for others. Do not speak with the voice of old fear. Let your words be washed in faith. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. So begin to speak words that agree with what I have spoken, that you are loved, redeemed, lifted up, healed, sent forth, and kept by a hand that never grows weary. When your mouth stops repeating the language of pain, your soul will begin to grow familiar with the melody of freedom. Remember, you do not need to make everyone immediately understand what I am doing within you. A seed does not need to explain to the soil that it will become a tree. It only needs to remain within the process of life until its season breaks forth. In the same way, continue to be faithful. Continue to be gentle. Continue to keep your heart pure. And continue to let me guide each step. When the time comes, the fruit will testify to the roots. As it is written, the tree is known by its fruit. Matthew 12:33. A transformed life will speak more clearly than every attempt to defend yourself. You do not live to prove that you are worthy of the promise. You live because I have called you into that promise. And what I call, I also give grace to complete. Now I speak peace over the deepest hidden places within you. I speak light over the places once covered by confusion. I speak steadfastness over the places that once trembled. I speak freedom over the memories that once bound you to an old image of yourself. The battles unseen by the eye cannot swallow you. For I am the one who goes before you as fire by night and cloud by day. The opposing powers cannot hold you in fear, because my authority is greater than every darkness. Walk as one who has been guarded by heaven, confirmed by love, and restored to true identity. I am not only protecting you from what is old, I am bringing you into what is new. I am not only delivering you from what has stood against you, I am making the light within you become clear. Rise up, my beloved child, for I am with you. and where I have called you to step forward. No darkness can shut the door before you. My beloved child, there are seasons in your life that feel like walking through a long corridor while the light at the end is still hidden. You still pray, still try, still keep your heart upright. Yet it seems as though every door closes before you, you still move forward. But in your own perception, your steps feel as though they are being held back by something you cannot name. I know those days, when you wondered whether you had gone wrong somewhere, whether I was still leading you, whether the promise was still alive. But my child, hear me speak with the tenderness of a father. Not every slowing down is a sign of loss. There are times when I place you in waiting not to forget you, but to protect what I am forming within you from being born too soon. As it is written, for everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Therefore, what you call being held back in my hands is a timing guarded by wisdom. Do not view the pressures you once endured as proof that you were defeated. I have seen the battles no one knew about. The times you smiled while your heart was heavy. The times you remained silent when hurt wanted to make you react. The times you continued to believe, even though every outward sign had not yet changed. You passed through the fire, but that fire was not permitted to consume you. It was only permitted to separate from you what did not belong to life. Gold is placed into the furnace, not to be destroyed, but to become purer, brighter, and more fully revealed in its true value. In the same way, I allowed you to pass through pressure so that the deepest part of you might be made clear, so that your faith would no longer be merely words upon your lips, but a foundation within your soul. The tested genuineness of your faith more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire. 1 Peter 1:7. And my beloved child, that tested faith will not return to my hands empty. Perhaps you once thought you were being hindered by invisible things, but I want you to recognize a deeper truth. There are opposing forces that seek to discourage you, yet there is also my hand adjusting the rhythm of your steps. Not every closed door comes from the enemy. There are doors I close to keep you from entering places not yet prepared for you. There are relationships I allow to grow quiet so that you may hear my voice more clearly. There are opportunities I have not yet opened because I am making your heart strong enough, clear enough, and humble enough not to be possessed by them. When you do not understand, you think it is loss, but when the appointed time comes, you will look back and know that I protected you through the very delays over which you once wept. Remember David, my beloved child. He was anointed while he was still young, but he did not immediately sit upon the throne. Between the anointing and the crown, there was the wilderness. There were caves. There were years of being pursued, misunderstood, and driven into places that seemed to have nothing to do with the promise. Yet it was in that very wilderness that I taught David how to rely on me without a palace, how to worship before there was a throne, and how to keep his heart upright when he had the opportunity to take revenge on Saul but still refused to do what was wrong. If David had received the throne too early, his heart might not have been tender enough to govern my people. Therefore, the waiting did not cancel the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I have also looked upon your heart in the hidden seasons, and I know that what I am building is not small. But now, my child, let your soul recognize the new movement. There are seasons of testing that have an end. There are corridors that have an exit. There are veils that once covered things which, at the appointed time, will be torn apart by a command from heaven. What once made everything seem unclear is losing its power to conceal. What once stood tightly shut before you is beginning to shake under my authority. You will not have to use your own strength to break down the doors I have appointed to open. When I command a door to open, the bolt no longer has the final word. When I establish the timing, obstruction cannot remain in its place. As it is written, I will go before you and level the exalted places. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. Isaiah 45:2. I do not merely lead you to the door. I have authority over the very things that once locked it. Therefore, do not enter the new season with the posture of someone still imprisoned in the old one. Do not let the memory of past delays cause you to doubt when I begin to make a way. There are souls that have grown so accustomed to waiting for so long that when the door truly opens, they still stand still because they fear disappointment. But I say to you, stay awake in faith, and do not let old pain slow your steps before a new invitation. When I open the way, you do not need to rush in with anxiety, but neither should you shrink back in fear. Walk with the peace of one who knows that you did not open this door yourself, did not create this opportunity yourself, did not lift yourself up by your own hand. I am the one who arranged it, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. Zechariah 4:6. What is born by my Spirit will be kept by my Spirit. I am removing from you the garment of stagnation, not only outwardly, but also in the way you see yourself. You are no longer one trapped in old cycles. You are no longer one who stands before the door but is not allowed to enter. You are no longer one who must keep wondering why everything has not yet moved. I am resetting the rhythm of your steps, renewing courage within you, and awakening the part of your faith that had grown weary from waiting too long. The prayers you once sowed in tears did not die beneath the ground. They are breaking open in the season I have appointed. The quiet choices you once made have not been overlooked. They are becoming evidence that you are ready to step into what I have prepared. Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. My beloved child, the harvest does not come according to human impatience, but when it comes from me, no one can prevent that season from bearing fruit. Then you will see paths you did not recognize before. Help will come from directions you did not expect. Confirmations will appear at the right time to strengthen your heart. Opportunities that once seemed distant will draw near, not because you forced them to come, but because I have brought the timing to maturity. Yet in all these things, keep your heart tender. Do not let the open door cause you to forget the one who opened it. Do not let the new blessing make you lose the humility that was refined in the former season. I open the way, not only so you may step into a better place, but so you may carry with you a heart that is deeper, brighter, and freer. The one I lift up does not need pride. That one only needs gratitude. The one I lead into a new season does not need to display themselves. That one only needs to remain faithful. Therefore, my beloved child, rise in peace. Shake from your shoulders the feeling that you have been held back for nothing. Let me replace weariness with hope, doubt with recognition, and old fear with the posture of one who has been prepared. What you have gone through has not made you late for your destiny. It has brought you to the very place where you needed to stand when the door opened. I did not abandon you in the fire, forget you in the waiting, or leave you in the days that seemed to have no progress. I was there refining, covering, teaching, deepening your roots, and now I am opening what you were not able to enter before. Trust me one more time, not with the trembling of one afraid to lose, but with the steadiness of one who knows their Father is faithful. The door I open before you is not sustained by your strength, but by my authority and what I have decided to establish. No darkness can shut before you. My beloved child, do not let your heart keep looking back to what is old, as though blessing can only return in the shape that once felt familiar. There are things I have allowed to close, not because I wanted to take away your joy, but because the old vessel is no longer wide enough to contain the new wine. If you keep longing for what is past to return exactly as it was, you may miss what I am placing before you in a beauty that is deeper, more mature, and more holy. I did not lead you through the fire only to hand back to you the fragments of a former season. I did not allow you to endure refining only for you to return to the exact place you left. When I restore, I do not merely patch what was damaged, I renew the structure, renew the vision, and renew the capacity within you. As it is written, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Isaiah 43:19. What I am preparing is not a copy of yesterday, but the opening of a season that carries the breath of heaven. You once asked me to return what was lost, but I want you to understand that my hand does not operate according to lack. I do not only return, I transform. I do not only bring back what was lost, I cause what comes afterward to carry another quality, another depth, another power. What you once thought was an ending may have only been the place where I removed the old shell to prepare you for a greater transfer. When a seed falls into the ground, it does not come back as a seed. It rises as a tree, bearing fruit far beyond its original form. In the same way, the things you placed into my hands with tears will not return to you in a weak, fractured, or temporary condition. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Psalm 126:5. And my harvest is never poorer than the season of sowing. Therefore, do not measure what is coming by the standard of what has passed. If you only search for the old feeling, you will not recognize the new glory. If you only hope for old doors to open again, you may not see that I am building a path where no footsteps have ever been. I am bringing you out of the mindset of small compensation and into purposeful receiving. What I give is not only to comfort you, but to place you in the right position. What I bestow does not merely soothe the pain, but also confirms your identity. What I open before you is not only an opportunity, but a commission. As it is written, the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Romans 11:29. What I have placed upon you is not a passing emotion. It is a seal spoken from the heart of eternity. Remember, Esther, my beloved child, she did not enter the palace as one seeking honor for herself. She passed through a long and hidden process of preparation, with things she had to leave behind, things she had to learn, and fears she had to overcome. When the time came, she did not merely receive a position, she received a mission. The crown upon her head was not meant to decorate personal beauty, but to save a people from destruction. Mordecai reminded her, "And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. Do you see, my child, there are things I place into your hands that are not only blessings, but a transfer for an appointed moment. What comes from me always carries a holy responsibility, not to crush you, but to make your life a place where my glory is revealed. In the unseen realm, I have done far more than you realize. There are decisions concerning your life that were not signed with earthly ink, but sealed with the covenant of heaven. There are arrangements that did not appear by luck, were not born from coincidence, and do not depend on the changing hearts of people. I have led you through seasons that seemed disconnected so I could weave them into one unified thread. The times you were held back, the times you had to wait, the times you did not understand why a door had closed, all of them have been placed by me into an order that you will only recognize when the season arrives. The Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. Psalm 138:8. And what belongs to you cannot be lost when it rests in my hand. You must understand that the inheritance I have prepared for you is not something you seize in fear. It does not come because you push, compete, or try to prove that you are more worthy than others. Your inheritance belongs to you because I have called your name in covenant, because I have appointed your portion according to my good will. In him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. Ephesians 1:11. Therefore, stop living like one who must beg for fragments. You are not standing outside the banquet table. You are a child in the Father's house. And what I give you does not come from pity, but from love, from purpose, and from holy election. Yet when I place something new into your hands, I am also teaching you how to carry it with a new soul. You cannot step into a season of royal authority while still thinking like one who has been abandoned. You cannot receive a transfer from heaven while still speaking of yourself with the voice of old shame. What I give requires a heart that has been enlarged, a mind that has been renewed, and a faith that no longer trembles before every outward sign. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2. Because if your mind is still bound to what is old, you will not know how to receive what is new in peace. I do not only want to bless you, I want you to become mature enough to steward that blessing in humility. There were things you once could not touch, not because I did not want to give them, but because the timing had not yet matured and your heart was still being prepared. But now, what once seemed distant is being drawn near by my authority. What once seemed impossible is beginning to open, not by your own strength, but by the grace placed upon you. When I give, I also give the capacity to carry. When I call, I also give the strength to walk. When I open, I also guard the entrance. I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3:8. And you do not need to stand before that door with the posture of one afraid to lose it. What I open is not protected by your anxiety, it is protected by my word. Therefore, my beloved child, release from your hands the small expectation of an old return. Let me replace your longing with recognition, your regret with hope, and your weary waiting with holy readiness. What I am bringing is not lacking, not temporary, not patched together from what was broken. It has passed through my light, been refined in my purpose, and been set in its proper place within my timing. You will realize that I have not merely prepared a gift, I have prepared a transfer. It is not only something for you to hold, but a new life for you to enter. Lift up your heart. My child, do not fear the new simply because it does not resemble the old. Do not doubt the blessing simply because it comes by a path different from what you imagined. I am the one who knows what truly fits you, what will cause you to grow, and what will glorify me through your life. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, James 1:17. And what comes from me will carry the fragrance of wholeness. Even if at first you do not fully understand its form, open your heart, not to cling to the past, but to receive what is born from heaven. For I am not bringing you back to the place where you once stood. I am leading you into the inheritance appointed for you from before, where everything that has passed becomes only the foundation, and what is coming will become a testimony that I am faithful, generous, and never give you anything less than my good intention. My beloved child, now let your heart receive a truth deeper than what you once dared to believe. You were not only pulled out of darkness to survive, you were brought into the light to be sent forth. I do not only remember you as a soul rescued from brokenness, I also affirm you as one who carries a calling from heaven. Your name does not lie still on some distant page of heaven's memory. Your name is being placed into the flow of mission, where each step you take can become an answer to what I spoke before you even knew how to call yourself by name. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. Jeremiah 1:5. Do you see? My beloved child, your calling was not born only today. Today is simply the moment when the veil is lifted, so you may begin to recognize more clearly what has been placed within you from the beginning. Do not think that the seasons when you thought you were lost have slowed that calling. I am not unsettled by the turns in your journey. I do not lose my plan because you were once weak, because you once wept, because you once doubted, or because you passed through long nights without knowing what tomorrow would bring. In my hands, even the roads you did not understand are gathered into preparation. There are lessons that are born only in places where no one applauds. There are depths formed only when the soul passes through trial and still chooses not to become hardened. You have been shaped in hidden places. Not so, I would hide you forever, but so that, at the appointed time, what I placed within you could emerge with purity, humility, and steadfastness. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Philippians 1:6. For I do not begin a holy work and then abandon it halfway. I am placing a new sign upon you. But this sign is not like the crowns the world pursues. It is not made of praise, status, admiring eyes, or fleeting recognition. The crown I give is woven from obedience, mercy, righteousness, and tears that have been sanctified. It does not make you stand higher than others so you may rule through force. It causes you to bow lower so you may lift others up through love. True power does not need to shout in order to prove its strength. True authority does not wound others so they must submit. The one entrusted by me with what is holy will know how to speak truth without losing kindness, how to remain gentle without forsaking righteousness, and how to stand firm without becoming harsh. As it is written, do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. Micah 6:8. This is the mark of one sent by me. Remember Nehemiah, my beloved child. He was not called amid the trumpet sound of victory, but began with tears when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down. He did not treat that pain as something distant, nor did he turn his face away from the ruin of his people. Instead, he allowed that holy burden to lead him into prayer, fasting, and action. When the time came, I opened the way before the king and gave him favor, resources, and authority to return and rebuild the wall. But Nehemiah did not build only with stones. He built with faithfulness, courage, and love for what belonged to me. When he was mocked, he did not stop. When he was threatened, he did not abandon the work. He said, "The God of heaven will make us prosper." Nehemiah 2:20. Do you see? My beloved child, some people are sent not because they have never suffered, but because their pain has been transformed into a holy burden to rebuild what was broken. In the same way, what you have gone through is not something to be ashamed of or hidden as evidence of weakness. I do not see your tears as failure. I have kept them in my bottle. As it is written, you have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56:8. Not one tear has fallen and been forgotten. Not one sob in the night has been counted meaningless. Those tears, when entrusted into my hands, become anointing oil for compassion. They teach you how to speak tenderly to those who are hurting, how to be patient with those who are slow to heal, and how to see beyond a hardened exterior to recognize a heart crying out for help. One who has never allowed me to heal their pain can easily wound others through judgment, but one who has been comforted by me in the hidden place will know how to become a gentle refuge for weary souls. Therefore, do not despise the years when you were misunderstood. They taught you what ease could never teach. When you were misjudged and still chose to keep your heart pure, I was sowing maturity within you. When you wanted to defend yourself, but allowed me to vindicate you, I was teaching you to trust a justice higher than human explanation. When you were placed in a position where you had to listen to your own pain, I was opening within you the capacity to listen to the pain of others. The God of all comfort comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction. 2 Corinthians 1, 3, 4. You are not healed only so your own heart may become lighter. You are healed so you may become a flowing channel of the comfort I give. From now on, be careful how you see yourself. Do not call yourself by the names that trials once tried to place upon you. Do not say, I am only someone who was wounded. When I call you one anointed to bring healing, do not say, I am only someone who was misunderstood. When I call you one refined to speak words of wisdom and kindness, do not say, I have lost too much, when I am transforming those very losses into depth, sensitivity, and holy authority. You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession. 1 Peter 2, 9. You belong to me, and because you belong to me, the history of pain is no longer the final author of your life. My word is what writes your true identity. But my beloved child, remember that being sent does not mean you must hurriedly run after every outward call. The one I send must first know how to remain with me. Mission does not begin with noisy activity, but with deep communion in the hidden place. If you step out without abiding in me, you will easily carry burdens by your own strength and grow weary, trying to save what only I can save. But if you abide in me, your words will carry life, your presence will carry peace, and your actions will carry discernment. Abide in me, and I in you. John 15, 4. The branch does not bear fruit by strained effort, it bears fruit because it remains joined to the vine. In the same way, let everything you do flow from abiding, not from the pressure to prove that you are worthy. I am joining within you two streams, truth and love, justice and mercy, strength and gentleness. If you have truth without love, your words can become a blade. If you have compassion without truth, you may comfort others without leading them out of their chains. But when you allow me to balance both within you, you will become a pure instrument. You will know when to speak plainly, when to embrace, when to wait, and when to stand firm. This is the mark of maturity in me, not being ruled by emotion, not being dragged away by old reactions, but being led by the Spirit in every step. Therefore, my beloved child, rise with humility, but do not be timid. Receive this crown of responsibility without pride and without fear. I have not placed this upon you so you would carry it alone. I have placed it upon you so you would walk with me. What you have gone through has been transformed by me into oil, into light, into wisdom, into a voice that has the power to lift others up. You are not only one who has been rescued from darkness, you are one sent into places that need light. You are not only one who has been comforted, you are one who will carry my comfort to trembling hearts. You are not only one who has been restored, you are a living sign that I still rebuild broken walls, still raise weary souls, and still call by name those who once thought they had been forgotten. Walk, my child, not with arrogance, but with holy conviction. Speak your words as one who knows they have been touched by grace. Look upon others with eyes softened by tears. Take hold of the mission, not as a crushing burden, but as an invitation to labor together with me in love. This season is not only a season in which you are recognized, it is a season in which you are activated. It is not only the time when you are healed, it is the time when the healing within you begins to flow outward. It is not only the time when your name is remembered, it is the time when your name is placed into the work of heaven. And I, your Father, will go before you, remain with you, and work through you in ways that will cause many souls to know that my love can turn tears into anointing oil, trials into authority, and a life once wounded into a bright lamp in my hand. My beloved child, perhaps in these days you feel as though your hands are being made to release many things, as though certain connections, habits, familiar image, and even things you once thought were an indispensable part of your life are slowly leaving you. And because you are someone who knows how to love, how to become attached, and how to treasure what has walked with you through many seasons, that separation may cause your heart to ache. But hear me speak to you with the tenderness of a father. Nothing that truly belongs to the blessing I have prepared for you can be lost from my hand. What falls away from your life is not always a loss. Many times, it is liberation. What is no longer permitted to continue with you is not being removed because I am cruel, but because I am protecting the new life I have placed within you. There are things that were fitting in the former season, but if you carry them into the new one, they will become a burden. There are garments that once covered you in the cold night, but when dawn comes, you cannot keep wrapping yourself in them and still step into the light. Therefore, do not be quick to weep as though I am taking away the best thing. Sometimes I am only removing from you what has reached its appointed end, so that your hands may be empty enough to receive something more alive. I want you to understand that my restoration is not the gathering of every old thing and placing it back exactly where it once was. True restoration is not the preservation of every broken piece simply because it once felt familiar to you. I do not restore through sentimentality. I restore through truth. I keep what still carries life, and I cut away what has quietly been draining your soul. Just as a wise gardener does not hate the tree when he prunes its branches, I do not wound you only to abandon you. I touch you so that you may bear more fruit. My Father is the vine dresser. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. John 15, 1, 2. Do you see? My beloved child, pruning is not a sign that you have been rejected. It is a sign that you are being cared for. If I did not see life within you, I would not prune you with such precision, because I know you can bear more fruit. I will not allow withered things to keep drawing strength from you. Remember Gideon, my beloved child. When I called him, he did not see himself as strong. He was hiding, afraid, and convinced that his family was the least of all. But I did not call him according to the way he saw himself. I called him a mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. Then, when he prepared for battle, I told him to reduce the number of his men. In human eyes, that seemed like losing advantage, losing assurance, and losing the very strength needed to win. But in my plan, that reduction was not weakness. It was the way I separated him from false dependence, so that when victory came, the glory would belong to me and not to the crowd. In the same way, there are things I remove from your life not to make you smaller, but so you will no longer confuse your true source of strength with temporary support. When I make you lighter, it is so you can walk faster. When I strip away what entangles you, it is so you can take hold of what I have entrusted to you with cleaner hands. Therefore, in these days when everything is being reordered, keep your heart in holy stillness. Do not be silent like one who has been defeated. And do not be silent because you are afraid of what remains unclear. Be silent like one standing before the Almighty, knowing that within that quietness there is a voice deeper than every noise. There are revelations I do not give in haste. There are instructions you cannot hear while your heart is still full of arguments, regret, and anxiety. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10 is not an invitation to withdraw from life, but a call to return to the center of faith, where your soul stops trembling and begins to recognize that I am still reigning. In that stillness, you will discern what is my voice and what is only the echo of fear. You will know what must be kept, what must be released, what is opening, and what I no longer want you to return to. I know you once became accustomed to explaining yourself. You thought that if you did not speak enough, others would misunderstand. If you did not prove enough, you would be overlooked. If you did not brace yourself strongly enough, you would not be recognized. But my child, that season is coming to an end. I am not calling you forward through the exhaustion of self-defense. I am calling you to rise through the affirmation that comes from me. You do not need to build a courtroom in your mind every day to defend your worth. I have called your name. I have known you. I have seen the parts of you that no one else was patient enough to see. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When I have declared that you belong to me, you do not need to let the judgment of people become the scale by which your identity is measured. They may see a moment. I see the whole journey. They may misunderstand one action. I know the spring from which your heart flows. Now, what I am establishing within you is not merely a small improvement of the old self. I am not patching up an identity that has been defined by fear so that it may look better in the eyes of others. I am recreating you in truth. I am renewing the way you think, the way you speak, the way you receive love, and the way you look toward the future. Put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. Ephesians 4:24. This new self no longer lives by the reactions of old wounds. This new self does not call defensiveness wisdom, does not call shrinking back humility, and does not call fear prudence. This new self knows how to bow before me, but does not bow before lies. This new self knows how to remain tender in love, yet firm in truth. This new self does not need to shout in order to prove that it has been restored. Its peace, purity, and maturity will testify that I have touched you. Do not be afraid when you see the things that no longer produce life leaving you. There were concerns that once took the place of prayer in your heart. I am clearing them away. There were fears that once disguised themselves as preparation. I am removing their masks. There were memories that once returned like chains whenever you wanted to move forward. I am breaking their power. There were voices that once made you see yourself as small. I am causing them to lose their echo. Sanctification may feel like loss in the beginning, but later you will see that it was relief. When a dry branch is cut away, the tree does not become poorer. The tree becomes free for the sap of life to flow where it needs to flow. When the things that do not belong to your destiny leave, your life is not made empty. Your life is being cleansed to carry glory. And in that process, stay close to me. Do not try to understand everything with your own mind before you allow yourself to have peace. There are things you will understand only after you obey. And then you will see why I led you in that way. There are doors that only after you stop trying to open them by your own strength will I show you why they needed to remain closed. There are people who, only after they have left you, will reveal how they had been keeping you in an old image that I no longer wanted you to live within. My ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:9. Therefore, allow me to be God in the areas you do not yet understand. Allow me to love you even through arrangements that feel unfamiliar. Allow me to heal you not only through what I add, but also through what I remove. My beloved child, now rise, not as one who has just been deprived, but as one who has just been set free. Walk, not with the emptiness of loss, but with the lightness of a soul released from its bonds. Keep stillness within your heart like an altar, where you lay down every noise and receive my voice. Put on the new self through each small choice. Speak words of life instead of words of fear. Choose trust instead of doubt. Choose to remain in peace instead of chasing chaos. Choose to let me define you instead of the past. I am establishing within you an identity that cannot grow old, a freedom that does not need permission from darkness, and a maturity that can no longer be pulled backward by what is past. Nothing that truly belongs to you in my will shall be lost. What leaves you is only what cannot go with you into new life. But what I place within you, what I speak over you, and what I am building through you, these things will remain, will grow, will bear fruit, and will become a testimony that my hand never prunes without preparing a greater season of fruitfulness. My beloved child, remember this: when the light within you begins to shine more clearly, darkness may react. But that reaction does not mean it still has power. There may be old voices trying to find their way back, familiar fears knocking at the door of your mind, and memories that seem to have fallen asleep suddenly rising again to ask you, are you truly free? But I say to you, do not let their appearance make you think you are returning to the old place. That is not so. They are not returning because they still rule over you. They are returning because they recognize that their dominion over you is being stripped away. When a land that was once occupied begins to be liberated, the enemy's final noise often sounds more intense, not because it has become stronger, but because it knows its time is nearly over. Therefore, do not tremble before those echoes. Stand in the truth. For as it is written, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Ephesians 6:10. Your strength does not come from never being tested, but from knowing in whom you stand. Perhaps you will feel a few old emotions return like a cold wind slipping through a door not yet fully closed. Perhaps a word, a circumstance, or someone's silence will touch an old wound and make your heart want to shrink back in the old way. But my child, do not quickly conclude that you have not been healed. Healing does not mean you will never feel again. Healing means that what you feel is no longer allowed to rule you. Maturity is not the absence of rising waves, but the refusal to let the waves decide the direction of the boat. When doubt comes, you do not need to sit down and converse with it as though it were an invited guest. When fear speaks, you do not need to give it the authority to rewrite what I have spoken. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4:7. That word does not tell you to negotiate with darkness. It tells you to stand firm in the authority of one who belongs to me. Remember Jesus in the wilderness. My beloved child, after he was baptized and the voice from heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son," Matthew 3:17. He was led by the Spirit into the wilderness and was tempted. Do you see? Right after his identity was affirmed, the tempter came to challenge that very identity. If you are the Son of God. But Jesus did not enter into an argument to prove who he was. He stood in the Word. He answered with what was written. He did not allow hunger, solitude, or the voice of challenge to shake the declaration from heaven. This is the pattern for you in this season. When your identity is restored by me, old voices may try to question you again. Are you truly loved? Are you truly called? Are you truly free? Do not answer with wavering emotions. Answer with the living word. Speak to your soul that I have called you by name. You belong to me, and what I have spoken is not canceled by a trial. I also want you to discern clearly between attack and training. When you were still weak and did not understand, you may have thought every pressure was a sign that you had been abandoned. But now I am teaching you to see with more mature eyes. There are tests that do not come to knock you down, but to reveal the strength I have placed within you. There are collisions that are not meant to drag you back into the past, but to show you that you no longer react like the old self. There are circumstances that require you to stand upright, not because I want to exhaust you, but because I want you to know that the legs of your faith have become steadier than before. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. James 1, 2, 3. I do not call you to rejoice because of pain, but because pain is no longer meaningless when it is placed in my hands. Gold does not know how pure it is until the fire reveals what does not belong to it. Your faith is the same. Seasons of pressure do not come to prove that you are weak, but to separate from you the residue of fear, doubt, shame, and old reactions. The fire I allow is not a fire of destruction. It is a fire of sanctification. It does not burn away your identity. It burns away the false names that have clung to you for too long. It does not steal your worth. It causes your true worth to shine. As it is written, the tested genuineness of your faith more precious than gold that perishes though it is tested by fire. 1 Peter 1, 7. Therefore, do not be afraid when the furnace becomes hotter than you expected. I stand near you in the fire. I regulate the heat. I know your limits, and I never allow the fire to do what my love has not permitted. There will be people who do not understand why you no longer respond as you once did. There will be situations that once easily made you flare up, but now you choose silence and wisdom. There will be words that once pulled you into a spiral of explanation, but now you let peace guard your heart. Do not consider that change small. It is evidence that you are being trained in authority. The truly strong person is not the one who reacts the fastest, but the one who knows how to keep their soul under my guidance. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Proverbs 16:32. My child, every time you do not return to an old reaction, another chain loses more of its strength. Every time you choose words of truth instead of words of fear, the light within you stands more firmly. Every time you resist darkness through obedience, you are learning how to operate in freedom. Therefore, do not panic when a trial draws near. See it as a place where I am teaching you to use what I have placed within you. I do not give authority so that you may merely admire it as a beautiful idea. I teach you to walk in that authority through specific choices. When the old voice tells you to step back, take one more step in faith. When an old memory wants you to define yourself by your wound, put on the new self in truth. When darkness tries to stir up shame again, remember that there is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. You do not belong to the old sentence. You do not belong to the old fear. You do not belong to the narrow room where your soul was once confined. You belong to me. And because you belong to me, truth has the final authority over your life. Keep your heart close to me in this season of training. Do not try to fight with the strain of the flesh. Do not think you must brace yourself to prove that you have become strong. Your true strength is found in surrender. When you humble yourself before me, you rise before darkness. When you abide in my word, lies lose the ground on which they stood. When you worship under pressure, you disrupt the strategy of fear. The weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10:4. You do not fight as one abandoned in the wilderness. You fight as one covered by my presence, equipped by the word, upheld by grace, and led by my spirit. Now, my beloved child, stand firm. Do not let the noise of darkness make you forget the stillness of the light. Do not let one old emotion cause you to deny the whole work of healing I have done within you. Do not mistake opposition for failure, for sometimes opposition only confirms that you are entering new territory. I have not allowed you to pass through this so you would collapse. I have allowed you to pass through it so you would see that you are no longer who you once were. You will realize that what once knocked you down can now only test your heart. What once made you run away now becomes the place where you stand firm. What once made you doubt now becomes an occasion for you to proclaim the truth. Resist with faith. Guard your heart with peace. Walk in obedience, and remember that I am perfecting you, not destroying you. The light I have placed within you will not go out because darkness reacts. On the contrary, the more it passes through fire, the purer, stronger, and clearer that light becomes, until your life becomes a living testimony that I am the one who keeps, the one who refines, the one who triumphs, and the one who causes you to stand firm in his very authority. My beloved child, do not let the movements around you throw your soul into panic, for not every change is loss, and not everything that leaves you is a disaster. There are things I am removing not because I want to leave your heart empty, but because I am making room for new life. There are doors I am closing, not to imprison you, but to keep you from returning to a place that no longer nourishes your destiny. Therefore, do not keep standing before the old threshold, knocking on it with tears, when I, myself, have set before you another path wider, brighter, and more fitting for what I am building. Walk gently, but decisively. Let go, not with bitterness, but with trust. Let your heart stop demanding to understand every detail, for you have not been called to control every road, but to trust the one who is leading you. As it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Proverbs 3, 5, 6. I do not require you to see the entire map. I simply invite you to place your trembling hand in mine and keep walking. I know there are parts of you that still want to hold on to what is familiar, even when it has made you weary. People often fear emptiness more than chains, because chains at least feel familiar to the old senses. But my child, I did not bring you into freedom so you would continue living like one still bound. When I remove temporary supports, it is so you may learn that I am the unshakable foundation. When I allow certain voices to grow distant from you, it is so you may hear my voice more clearly. When I cause certain paths to close, it is so your feet will no longer waste strength in cycles whose grace has ended. Do not try to hold on to what I am loosening from your hands. If it truly belongs to the purpose I have for you, it will be preserved in my hand. But if it no longer produces life, then its departure is mercy, not punishment. Sometimes what you call loss is the very moment I cut the cord that had quietly kept you in place for too long. Draw nearer to me in stillness, for I am not looking at you like a cold judge waiting for you to make a mistake, but like a father supporting each step of your growth. I see your reactions under pressure, not to grade you, but to show you what within you has been strengthened, what still needs healing, and what is ready to carry greater authority. When you choose to trust in the place that is still unclear, you are not merely overcoming an emotion, you are building a new depth in your faith. When you release, instead of clinging, you are not merely losing something familiar, you are proving that your heart is no longer held captive by what is old. When you stand firm, without reacting from pain, you are stepping out of an old identity and into the posture of one affirmed by me. The righteous shall live by faith, Romans 1:17. And that faith is not merely beautiful words spoken on a peaceful day, but a holy choice made in the hours when your heart is tested. You are no longer in the old place, even though old emotions may sometimes try to persuade you that you have not gone far. Do not let the noise of the world make you forget my quiet work. Do not let outward reactions cause you to doubt the inward work. Do not let the present trial rewrite the promise that has been spoken over you. I am bringing you into a process of elevation. But my elevation is not like the display of man. Before I place someone in a broader position, I deepen their roots in the hidden place. Before I entrust authority, I train them in humility. Before I open a great door, I teach them not to worship the door. Therefore, Everything I allow in this season is not meant to lead you off course, but to bring you into the right position. That position is not given by man, so man cannot steal it. That position is not born from chance, so circumstances cannot erase it. It is established by me, protected by my will, and opened at the time I have appointed. I also see the cracks in your heart. My beloved child, I see the places where you were once misunderstood, when you were only trying to do what was right. I see the days when you were forgotten, even though your heart remained quietly faithful. I see the times when you were pushed to the margins, not because you lacked value, but because others did not recognize what I was preserving within you. I do not turn my face away from those wounds. I do not tell you to deny them with false words of strength. I draw near and touch them. But when I touch them, I do not merely make them hurt less. I turn them into places where my glory can shine through. My power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. So, the place where you once thought you were most fragile can become the very place where I reveal my strength most tenderly. A crack surrendered into my hands is no longer only a mark of injury, it becomes a passageway for light. Do not despise the scars you carry, for they are not proof that you have failed. They are evidence that you have passed through the fire and are still standing. They testify that you were tested, but not swallowed, wounded, but did not allow your heart to turn to stone, that you once wept, yet continued to believe, that you were once silent, yet did not let go of my hand. In my kingdom, a crown is not placed upon the head of one who has never bowed low. It is placed upon souls that have learned obedience in places where no one was watching. As it is written, they have conquered by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Revelation 12:11. The story you have lived is not something to be buried in shame. When sanctified by me, that very story becomes a testimony, becomes anointing oil, becomes a key that opens the way for others to believe that they too can be healed. Therefore, allow me to change the way you see your journey. Losses are not always theft in my hands. They can become purification. Waiting is not always delay in my hands. It can become preparation. Trials are not always signs that you have been forgotten. In my hands, they can become the place where your faith is proven genuine. You do not need to chase every voice in order to explain who you are. You do not need to return to every old place to recover what I told you to release. You do not need to prove your worth to those who only know how to see you through the lens of a former season. I have called your name. I have seen you. I knew the true part of you before the world ever had the chance to misunderstand you. And when I affirm you, that affirmation is enough for you to stand upright without arrogance, to walk without trembling, and to remain silent without weakness. Now, my beloved child, keep your heart steady. Let peace lead you through the shifting. Let wisdom guard your mouth from hasty reactions, and let faith lift your feet from hesitation. Do not be afraid when everything is being rearranged. I am the one arranging it. Do not grieve over what I have closed. I know which places no longer contain life for you. Do not resist the pruning. I know which branches must be cleansed, so that the next season may bear more fruit. You are being brought into a position that cannot be replaced, because that position has not been built from ambition, but from covenant. It has not been given by the praise of man, but by my intention. Keep walking, my child, gently but decisively, humbly but with full conviction. For what once wounded you is being turned into authority. What once made you weep is being turned into testimony. And what once seemed to slow you down is leading you to the very place I prepared long ago. I am with you in every step, and I will cause everything entrusted into my hands to become glorious at the appointed time. My beloved child, listen with the full depth of your soul, for what I am laying before your eyes is not a scene for you to merely behold from afar, but an invitation to step into the inheritance I have quietly prepared for you for a long time. There were seasons when you thought you were only enduring, only getting through the days, only keeping your heart faithful in small things no one could see. But I say to you, not one drop of your faithfulness has fallen to the ground and been forgotten. The days when you still prayed, though your heart felt dry, the times when you still chose integrity though no one praised you, the steps you still took though only mist lay before you, all of it has become holy material in my hands. I have used those very things to build a vessel for your destiny, a spiritual vessel sturdy enough to carry you through deeper waters. For as it is written, we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, Romans 8:28. So even the seasons that seemed delayed were never meaningless. I have been weaving them together into strength, into character, into authority. Do not think that the ocean before you is a sign of danger simply because it is wider than the familiar ground behind you. Many times, what you call too great is precisely the place where I desire to enlarge your vision. Many times, the waves that make your heart tremble do not come to sink you, but to teach you that you were no longer created for the small shoreline of yesterday. I did not lead you to the water's edge to make you afraid. I led you there so you would recognize that my grace is wider than the limits you once placed upon yourself. Remember when Peter saw me walking upon the sea in the darkness of night? The waves were still there. The wind was still blowing. Yet with one word I spoke, "Come," Matthew 14:29. And the waters that once seemed terrifying became the place where he learned to walk by faith. So it is with you, my beloved. I do not always quiet every wave before I call you forward, because sometimes it is in the very midst of the waves that you realize my voice has more power than every noise around you. I know there are still moments when your heart trembles. I know you look at what I have set before you and wonder whether you have enough wisdom, enough strength, enough maturity to receive it. But my beloved child, I do not entrust great things to you on the basis of the fragile confidence of the flesh. I entrust them because I have placed within you a foundation that even you have not yet fully seen. You have been forged in the secret place. You have been softened through tears. You have been taught to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of my guidance. You have learned to stand firm when there was no one to support you, to love me when there was no clear sign, to keep your heart pure when circumstances had not yet changed. Therefore, when I call you to step onto the vessel of a new season, I am not calling an aimless child wandering in the storm. I am calling a son who has been trained through silence, anointed in hiddenness, and prepared for responsibility through the very things that once seemed smallest. And you must understand this. You are not being invited onto the vessel as one who hides in a corner, merely hoping someone else will carry you across the sea. I did not create you to remain forever a passenger in your own calling. I place your hand upon the helm, not so that you may control everything according to your own will, but so that you may learn to move in union with me. There is a kind of authority that does not come from applause, does not come from outward titles, and does not come from your attempt to prove yourself strong. That authority is born from surrender. When you learn to listen to me before you decide, to wait for my rhythm before you act, to speak what I place within your heart instead of reacting from fear, then you are holding the helm with hands guided by heaven. As it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. This is the secret of the one who has been entrusted, not becoming proud because he has been chosen, nor shrinking back because he feels small, but walking forward in wise dependence. My beloved child, remember Noah. a man who built the ark before the rain began to fall. In the eyes of the world, what he was doing may have seemed strange, slow, even unreasonable. Day after day, he obeyed amid a generation that did not understand what he was preparing. He built each part of the ark not because the sky had already proven it right, but because I had spoken, and at the appointed time, what had once seemed quiet became the means of salvation. Do you see? My beloved, there are things I told you to build in secret yesterday that will become the place of protection and the vessel that carries you through tomorrow. There are hidden disciplines, faithful choices, and moments when you refuse to give up, all being joined together into a sacred structure, strong enough to carry you through waters others cannot cross by their own strength. Do not despise the days when you obeyed in silence, for those very days have built the ark of your inheritance. Now, as you stand before the wide waters, I do not want you to carry the mindset of one who asks fear for permission to move forward. Fear has no authority to decide your future. The past has no authority to keep you anchored to the shore. The words that once made you doubt yourself have no authority to silence the calling I placed within your soul. I have not given you a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1:7. The strength I give is not noisy, arrogant, or impulsive. It is the gentle steadfastness of a soul that knows to whom it belongs. The love I have placed within you will keep you from leading with harshness, and the self-discipline I give will keep you from rushing forward in impulse. Therefore, you can step up without needing to display yourself. You can take the helm without needing to dominate, and you can receive responsibility while still keeping a humble heart. I also want you to know that the reward of faithfulness is not only what you receive, but the person you become in order to carry it. If I had entrusted the vessel to you before your heart was ready, the very gift itself could have caused you to become unsteady. But I waited, forged, shaped, healed, and removed weak motives from within you, so that when the new season opens, you will not lose your soul amid what is great. Therefore, do not complain because the journey has been long. Do not resent that the door opened more slowly than you hoped. There are delays that, in your eyes, seemed like postponement, but in my eyes were protection. There were silences you thought meant you had been forgotten, but they were the very place where I reinforced the bottom of the boat, stretched the sails, prepared the anchor ropes, and taught your hands to hold the helm without trembling. Therefore, my beloved child, step forward with peace in your heart. The ocean is not your enemy. It is the space I will use to enlarge your calling. The vessel is not an illusion of hope. It is the result of what I have built within you through the years. The helm in your hands is not a burden for you to fear, but a sign that I trust the work I have completed inside you. When you are weary, remember, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. When you are uncertain, return to my voice. When the wind changes direction, keep your eyes fixed on the one who is with you upon the sea. I am not merely standing on the shore watching you sail out. I am in the wind to guide the sails, beneath the waters to lift the body of the vessel, and within your heart to give you courage. Go, my child. Leave the old shore with gratitude. Step into your inheritance with humility, and move toward the new horizon with a clear and radiant faith. For I have prepared you. I am leading you, and the work I began in you I will bring to completion until the day my glory is revealed. My beloved child, let your heart grow still before my calling. For what I speak today is not a pressure meant to frighten you, but a gentle hand placed upon your shoulder to lead you out of the place where you have remained for too long. There are shores that once served as shelter, but there comes a time when If you continue to stay there, they become a limitation. There are familiar places that once helped you survive. But not every place that once protected you was meant to keep you forever. I do not blame you for clinging to the old shore in the days when you were weak. I know there were times when you needed a place to breathe, a quiet ground where you could recover. But now, as I call you out to sea, it is not because I have forgotten the storms you once endured, but because I know you have been formed more deeply through those very storms. You are no longer the trembling child who only hopes the waters will not rise. You are being called to become one who knows how to hear my voice amid the waves, who knows how to place your hand upon the helm in dependence, and who knows that the wide sea cannot swallow the one whom I am keeping. Do not wait until everything around you becomes easy before you obey. My beloved, if you wait for the wind to become completely still, for the water to become perfectly smooth, for every doubt within your heart to disappear, then you will allow hesitation to dress itself as wisdom and keep you in a harbor whose season has ended. Faith is not walking when there is nothing left to fear. Faith is recognizing that my voice is stronger than what is fearful. As it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. Romans 1:17. Not by the certainty of circumstances, not by the agreement of everyone around them, and not by seeing the entire path laid out before their eyes. When I say, go, that word already carries within it the power to sustain each step you take. When I say, stand, that very word becomes the rock beneath your feet. And when I tell you to be still, it is not because I want you powerless, but because I am teaching you that there are battles not won by your striving, but by a trust placed wholly in my hands. I know there are voices within you that still want to look back. They remind you of the familiar place, of the old ways, of the fragile safety of not having to change. They whisper that you should wait a little longer, verify a little more, arrange a little more, and only then dare to step forward. But my beloved, there are spiritual opportunities that cannot be entered with feet still bound by yesterday. I am not telling you to forget the old shore as though it never mattered. I am telling you not to worship it as though it were your destiny. Be grateful for the place that once sheltered you, but do not turn it into a prison. Honor the seasons that have passed, but do not let them rule over the season now opening before you. As Isaiah heard me speak, do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18-19. That new thing does not always come in a predictable form. Sometimes it comes as an ocean before you, as a vessel waiting, as a calling that requires you to leave the harbor your heart has grown accustomed to leaning upon. Remember Abraham, my beloved, when I called him to leave his country, his kindred, and his father's house. I did not give him a complete map of every turn along the way. I only said to go to the land I would show him. He stepped out not because he knew everything, but because he trusted the one who had called him. And from that very obedience, a covenant was opened, a stream of blessing was established, and a future greater than his own life was sown into history. Do you see, my beloved? There are doors that open only after your feet have moved. There are paths that appear only when you are willing to leave your old position. There are blessings that cannot be discovered by those who stand on the shore, demanding that the sea prove its safety before they believe. I am not asking you to know the whole horizon. I am inviting you to know the one who is leading you there. And if the waves still rise as you walk, do not misunderstand and think that I am absent. Many times, my presence is not revealed by every wind immediately ceasing to blow, but by the way you are kept steadfast in the midst of the wind. When the people of Israel stood before the Red Sea, with the sound of pursuing chariots behind them and deep waters, with no visible passage before them, They thought they had been driven to the very end, but what seemed like the end in their eyes became the stage for my power. I spoke through Moses, saying, "The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." Exodus 14:14. And then the sea parted at my command. My beloved, I did not bring you to the water's edge to leave you in panic. I brought you there so you would learn that what is impossible for you still remains under my sovereign rule. When you obey, I do not stand outside your journey. I enter into the responsibility of the covenant I have established over your life. Therefore, do not live any longer as one who is merely trying to stay afloat. I have seen the days when you were so weary that simply not sinking already felt like a victory. I have seen you brace yourself against invisible waves, trying to keep your breath, trying to keep your faith, trying to keep yourself from being swept away by pressure, disappointment, and fear. Those days have not been taken lightly by me. Every time you still whispered, "I believe," while your heart had no answer. Heaven recorded it. Every time you did not let go of my hand, though your own hand trembled. I poured quiet strength into your soul. But now I speak. The season of merely enduring in order to survive is coming to a close. I do not only want you to escape the storm, I want you to learn how to navigate in my power. I do not only want you to survive the sea, I want you to understand that in me, you can cross the sea with peace, with clarity, and with authority born from surrender. My child, place your hand upon the helm with a spirit that has been comforted. Do not steer with panic, for panic will cause your eyes to see only the waves. Do not steer with pride, for pride will make you forget to whom the wind belongs. Steer by listening. Let every decision you make be washed in prayer. Let every step forward be placed beneath the light of my word. Whenever your heart feels confused, return to the holy stillness, where my voice does not need to shout and yet still carries enough power to separate what is true from what is false. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. That lamp does not always illuminate the whole ocean at once, but it will give enough light for the next step. And that next step, when obeyed, will lead you into the next portion of grace. One day, my beloved, you will look back and no longer call the turns in your life a wandering from the way. You will see that some delays were actually protection. Some losses were actually liberation, and some closed doors were actually my hand drawing you away from the narrow road of fear. You will no longer say that you merely drifted through events, but you will recognize that I was quietly positioning you through every season. The tears will no longer be only memories of sorrow. They will become the waters that cleansed your vision. The long nights will no longer be only stretches of darkness. They will become the place where I taught you to hear my voice more clearly. And when your soul understands this, rest will come, not the kind of rest that means every journey has ended, but the deep peace of one who knows they are in the hands of the one who never leads wrongly. So, step aboard. My beloved child, do not remain forever on the dock, holding tightly to the things I have told you to release. Do not let fear cause your vessel to decay while my wind has already begun to blow. Leave the old shore with gratitude, not bitterness. Look forward with faith, not haste. Go when I call. Stand when I command. Be still when I fight for you, and move forward when I open the way. I am with you in the cabin, in the sails, in the sound of the wind, and in the stillness between two waves. I do not merely give you a journey, I give you my very presence upon that journey. And as you walk in obedience, you will discover that the wide sea is not the place where you lose yourself, but the place where you find your true position in me. My beloved child, let this word sink deeper than all your old ways of understanding. Your life has never been a series of disconnected events thrown together by chance. Not one season you have passed through has been outside my sight. Not one turn, not one pause, not one delay. Not one time you stumbled and rose again has been forgotten in my eternal hand. There were roads you once called repetition that I called a classroom. There were days when you thought you were walking in the same circle. Yet, I was deepening the foundation within you. There were places where you thought you had strayed from the main path. Yet I was quietly drawing you away from a road that no longer belonged to your destiny. Therefore, do not be quick to judge your journey through weary eyes. What you see as confusion, I see as a map being unfolded. What you thought was delay, I am using as a sacred adjustment. And what you once believed was loss of direction may sometimes be the very way I am bringing you back to the axis I placed within your soul before you even understood who you were. You must understand that what is written, all things work together for good to those who love God, Romans 8:28, is not merely a gentle saying meant to soothe pain for a moment. It is a spiritual law, a truth that stands firm in the unseen realm, a principle of my hand at work over every fragment of a life surrendered to me. I did not say that all things are pleasant, nor did I say that all things appear fair in your eyes the moment they happen. But I did say that when your life is in my hands, nothing has the authority to remain as final waste. I can turn tears into a river that guides the way. I can turn pain into the birthplace of compassion. I can turn silent years into a forge of authority. I can take what once made you think you were late and use it to prepare you for the appointed time that haste could never have brought you into. So, my child, no longer see your life as a prolonged battle merely to survive. I know you have lived in that posture before. I know there were mornings when you woke, only hoping you would have enough strength to get through one more day. Nights when you lay down while your soul was still stretched tight like a bowstring. And seasons when you thought peace was something reserved for others. But I do not define you by the days when you had to struggle. I do not call you one chased by the storm. I call you one whom I am leading into a greater voyage. Change the way you see. The sea before you is not only a place of waves, it is also a place of horizon. The wind is not only a force that frightens you, in my hands. It can become the breath that carries your sails forward. The movements around you are not only chaos. If you learn to listen to me, they will become signs by which you adjust your direction. Remember Joseph, my beloved. He was sold by his own brothers, taken down to Egypt as a man who seemed to have lost every choice, falsely accused in Potiphar's house, and forgotten in the prison after he had helped others understand their dreams. Seen through human eyes, his life looked like a chain of injustices, like doors slamming shut one after another without explanation. But in the deeper realm, I was weaving a path even Joseph himself could not yet see. The prison was not the end. It was the corridor leading to the palace. Being forgotten was not final failure. It kept him there for the appointed time when Pharaoh would need an interpretation. And when the destined day came, what had once wounded him became the position through which many lives were preserved. That is why he could say to those who had harmed him, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Do you see? I do not create the wickedness of human beings, but I have the authority to turn even those things toward the service of my redemptive purpose. In the same way, the seasons when you thought you were being pushed far away from the promise may be the very seasons in which I am bringing you closer by a road your reason has not yet understood. When a door closes, do not immediately call it rejection. When a plan falls apart, do not rush to say, "I have withdrawn my hand from you." When someone leaves, do not think your worth leaves with them. There are separations that are protection. There are delays that are refinement. There are empty spaces where I am making room for something new to enter. You often look at the map from such a close angle that you only see the sharp turns, while I see the whole voyage from the beginning to the appointed shore. I know which currents must be avoided, which winds must be waited for, which harbors are only temporary places of rest, and which waters will reveal the strength I have placed within you. Now, I am no longer merely calling you to rise above the surface of the water. I am teaching you to understand the language of the sea. I am not only pulling you out of the place of sinking, I am placing within you the awareness of one who guides the way. This does not mean you have become strong enough on your own to no longer need me. On the contrary, the more is entrusted to you, the more deeply you must learn to depend on me. A true guide is not one who grows proud because he knows the direction of the wind, but one who humbly recognizes that the wind belongs to the Creator. A true helmsman is not one who controls every wave, but one who knows how to keep his ear close to my voice, listening for when to move forward, when to stop, when to change direction, and when to anchor in peace. As it is written, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Proverbs 16:9. You may make plans, but let me sanctify every step. You may look toward the horizon, but let me adjust the compass within you. Do not forget, my beloved, that I am not standing on some distant shore watching you manage on your own. I am not the one who merely gives a command and then withdraws. I am within you like the breath that steadies your soul amid every upheaval. When you are confused, I am not far. When you are weary, I am not cold. When you do not know which direction to choose, I am not silent because I have abandoned you. Sometimes I am teaching you to become still so you can distinguish my voice from the voice of fear. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. My help does not always come as a hand that immediately pulls you out of every difficult circumstance. Many times, it comes as strength rising within you, as clarity amid the clouds, as a peace that seems unreasonable yet is deeply real, guarding your heart while the waves are still moving. Therefore, from today onward, stop telling the story of your life in the language of a victim. Do not say, I was only swept away. Say, I am being led. Do not say, I have lost too much time. Say, I am learning the rhythm of heaven. Do not say, those seasons were useless. Say, the Father used even those seasons to form a map within me. When your words change, your vision changes as well. When your vision changes, your steps begin to grow steadier. And when your steps grow steadier, you will realize that you are no longer merely reacting to storms. You are learning to operate from a place deeper than the storm. You no longer live according to every wind that makes your heart waver. You live according to the compass I have placed within your spirit. Keep going, my beloved child, but go with rest. Move forward, but do not rush. Take hold of the responsibility I have entrusted to you, but do not carry it by your own strength. Every moment that has passed, I can gather into meaning. Every turn, I can connect into a path. Every tear, I can turn into water that softens the dry ground within you. The sea is still vast, but I am vaster than the sea. The journey still continues, but you no longer walk as one without direction. I have placed you in your position. I am within you, going before you, surrounding you, and causing everything in my hands to become your final good. Therefore, lift up your head. You are not merely getting through life, you are being led by me into a holy voyage, where every wave must also serve the word I have spoken over you. My beloved child, let the eyes of your soul be opened in this hour, for there are things you once called resistance that did not come to stop you, but to create lift for the sail within you. There are winds you once feared because they blew against your face. But when your hands are taught by me how to steer, that very wind becomes the force that carries you out of the old harbor. There were upheavals that once made you stagger, that made you wonder why your journey had so many turns. But I say to you, in my hands, not every movement is chaos. Some shaking is the sign that the vessel is leaving shallow waters. Some pressure is evidence that you are entering a deeper current. Some things that once made you think you were growing weaker are actually revealing the strength I quietly placed within you in former seasons. Therefore, do not look only at what is opposing you. Look at what I am building within you through that very thing. I no longer want you to live as one who merely reacts to circumstances. My beloved, I do not want every wave that passes through your life to determine your countenance, your words, your faith, and your direction. There was a time when you learned how to survive, how to keep yourself from sinking, how to breathe in the midst of heavy days. I do not despise those seasons. But now, I am bringing you into a more mature dimension, where you no longer only ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but begin to ask with an awakened heart, "Father, where are you leading me through this?" That question will change the way you see your whole life. When your soul stops standing in the position of one being hunted by circumstances, you will begin to see that I can use even the strong current itself to bring you to the place I have appointed for you. As it is written, we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. So you are not called to interpret your life only by what appears on the surface, but to recognize my hand hidden beneath every movement. Remember Daniel, my beloved. He was taken into Babylon, a foreign place, an environment unfavorable to faithfulness, a royal court filled with strange voices and pressure to conform to the current of the world. If seen only with natural eyes, it was a great loss, the loss of homeland, the loss of familiarity, the loss of the right to choose his circumstances. But I did not allow Babylon to define him. In the very land of exile, I caused an uncompromising soul to shine. In the king's court, where many were swept away by ambition and fear, Daniel still kept the rhythm of prayer, still discerned what belonged to me, and still stood firm before the pressure of men. When he was thrown into the lion's den, the thing that should have devoured him became the place where I revealed my protection. As the testimony declared, God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. Daniel 6:22. So understand this. Sometimes I do not prevent you from entering the fearful place, but I enter it before you to prove that the power of circumstance is not greater than my covenant over your life. In the same way, the lonely seasons you have passed through were not proof that I had forgotten you. I brought you into those silences not to dry you out, but to separate you from dependence on applause, affirmation, and the constant presence of others. When all the noise around you quieted down, you began to hear the deeper vibrations of my voice. When the people you once leaned on were no longer as near as before, you learned that I am not a secondary refuge, but the chief foundation stone of your life. I taught you to wait when your instinct wanted to run in search of quick answers. I taught you to be silent when your heart wanted to defend itself with too many words. I taught you to stand still when fear wanted you to retreat. And in each of those lessons, I was not delaying you, I was training you. For one who is called to guide in a deeper season cannot be controlled by the crowd, nor can he change direction simply because the voices outside him change their tone. Therefore, do not use someone else's map to measure your own journey. Do not look at their life and condemn yourself as slower, different, lonely, or harder to understand. I did not create two souls exactly alike, nor did I write two voyages with the same stroke of ink. What I have placed within you has its own structure, its own rhythm, its own season of blossoming, and its own responsibility. Some are called to stand upon quiet shores and keep the flame alive in familiar places. Others are called into deep waters to carry light to those who are losing their way. You do not need to envy anyone else's path, nor do you need to borrow the shape of another calling in order to feel valuable. As it is written, I have called you by your name, you are mine, Isaiah 43:1. I do not call you by someone else's name. I do not measure you by someone else's rhythm. I do not give you a copied inheritance. I call you by your own name, and within that name is the seal of a purpose that only you can carry in the right way. When you understand this, you will no longer fear your difference. There are things within you that once made you feel out of place, yet they are actually signs of being set apart. There are deep perceptions, sensitivities, holy urgings, and times when you cannot remain at peace in the presence of another person's darkness. All of these are not meaningless burdens. I placed light within you not only to warm you, but so you would become a sign for souls who are feeling their way through the dark. But before that light can guide others, I must purify it from the need to be recognized by people. Before you can stand firm for those who tremble, I must teach you to stand firm when no one sees. Before you can speak the right word at the right time to someone who has lost their way, I must teach you to hear my word in seasons when you have no one else to ask. My beloved, do not call every empty space a loss. Some empty spaces are my preparation room. Some doors have not opened yet, not because you have been rejected, but because what is within you is still being aligned so that when you enter, you will not lose your peace. Some relationships, growing distant, are not meant to impoverish you, but to teach you to distinguish between companionship sent by me and attachment created by fear. There are times when you thought you had been placed on the margins, yet in truth, I was drawing you away from the noise to give you a purer vision. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10 is not an invitation for you to remain motionless in despair, but a call to enter a deeper knowing, where the soul is no longer thrown off course by what the eyes can see. Therefore, when the waters around you begin to move, do not panic too quickly. Ask what sign I am teaching you to read. When the familiar is shaken, do not only ask what you will lose, ask what I am opening. When you are brought into a space you have never known before, do not treat it as evidence that you have been abandoned. Remember that many commissions begin with leaving the place of safety. Abraham had to leave his homeland before he saw the promised land. Moses had to stand before Pharaoh before he saw the people delivered. Joshua had to set his feet in the Jordan before the waters parted. Faith often does not receive all the evidence before it obeys. Faith receives my word as evidence enough to take the next step. And when you walk by that word, I will cause you to see things that hesitation never gets to behold. Now, I am forming within you a steadfastness that does not depend on the weather of circumstances. I am building within you a spirit that knows how to stand in the very midst of the waters without being ruled by the waters. This does not mean you will no longer have emotions, no longer have questions, no longer have moments when you must take a deep breath in order to choose trust. It means that emotion no longer sits upon your throne. Fear no longer holds your compass. The voices of others are no longer the final authority over your steps. I am bringing you into a deeper place, where obedience becomes your breath, listening becomes your strength, and stillness is not weakness, but the chamber of authority. So, my beloved child, stop resisting the lessons I am using to lift you higher. Let resistance become the wind beneath your sail. Let the shaking become the rhythm of training. Let the empty spaces become the place where I pour in clarity. Let your different path no longer make you ashamed, but cause you to be grateful because I have called you by a name of your own. You are no longer being swept along by the current as before. You are learning to stand in the current, with your feet planted upon my rock. You do not live merely to understand what is happening. You live to recognize where I am leading you through all things. And when you see with that light, you will watch your entire journey begin to shine with meaning. No season has been wasted. No tear has been useless. No loneliness has been outside my hand. I am making you into one who hears clearly amid the noise, stands firm amid movement, and carries my light into the deep places where many souls need to be led home. My beloved child, there will come a day when you turn and look back upon the road you have traveled, and what once confused, you will no longer appear as scattered fragments without belonging. The seasons you thought were disconnected, the encounters that came and went, the doors that opened and then closed, the detours that made you weary, all of it will be joined together before your eyes like a sacred tapestry woven with both light and tears. While you are still in the middle of the journey, you can only see each small thread, each separate color, each knot that is difficult to understand, but I, the one who sees from eternity, have always seen the complete image. Not one turn is meaningless if it rests in my hand. Not one silent stretch is empty if I am using it to prepare depth within you. There were times when you thought you were being led away from the main road. But in truth, I was protecting you from a turn that was not yet in season, from waters you did not yet need to enter, from a door that looked beautiful on the outside but did not carry the life appointed for you. Therefore, do not call the things that slowed down failure. My beloved, some delays are fences of grace. Some pauses are my hand placed upon your shoulder to keep you from rushing into what your heart was not yet steady enough to carry. When you do not hear my voice as clearly as you desire, do not quickly conclude that I am absent. Many times, my silence is not distance, but the place where I am working deeper than words. Like a potter placing his hands upon the clay, there are moments when the outward movement seems very small, yet inwardly the shape is changing. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10 is not an invitation for you to sit in confusion, but a call to enter a knowing that rises above the noise. In that stillness, I have not stopped leading. I am continuing to draw lines your eyes have not yet been able to see. Now, as many points have begun to connect, as your soul recognizes that your life is not a chain of random events, I speak to you with gentleness and yet with authority, my child. Sit silent. Leave the shoreline of hesitation. Stop standing forever in the place where you only look into the distance, but have not yet dared to step into the waters I am opening. I do not call you out to sea so you can prove yourself strong. I call you out to sea so you can discover that my presence is sufficient for every wave. As it is written, He calms the storm so that its waves are still. Psalm 107:29. So do not forget that the one who goes with you not only understands the sea, but also rules over the sea. The waves may move, the wind may change direction, and the horizon may stretch so widely that you can no longer see the shore behind you. But I am with you, and my presence is the compass that never fails. You are no longer called to stand on the shore, looking at your life as though it were something far away. I have placed you in the very movement of my grace. This means you no longer live as one who waits for everything to become certain before believing. You are learning to walk in a deeper kind of certainty in the one who leads. Even when the details of the path have not yet fully opened. The wind was once something that frightened you, but from now on, you will learn to see it with different eyes. In my hands, the wind is not only pressure, it can become the breath that drives your sail forward. The things you once avoided can become the tools that carry you deeper into destiny. The pressures that once made you tremble can become the lessons that teach you balance. The movements that once unsettled, you can become the rhythm of maturity if you learn to lean on me instead of resisting everything you do not yet understand. Remember Paul when he was adrift in the great storm on the way to Rome. The ship was beaten by the wind. Everyone lost hope of surviving. And darkness stretched on for many days until human hearts were exhausted. But in the midst of that chaos, Paul stood up with a peace that did not come from the weather, but from the word I had spoken through an angel. Do not be afraid. Paul, you must stand before Caesar. Acts 27:24. Do you see? My beloved, the storm cannot cancel what I have appointed. The ship may break. Human plans may be overturned. But my word will still reach the shore. Paul did not need a calm sea in order to have peace. He had peace because he knew he was within my purpose. In the same way, you do not need every circumstance to be perfect in order to know you are being led. When my word is upon you, even the storm must serve the journey I have ordained. And if you ask, how will I know I am moving in the right direction amid such a vast ocean? I will not leave you unclear in that uncertainty. I place within you signs that are not always loud, but are deeply alive. The first sign is a peace that circumstances cannot explain. When the wind is still blowing outwardly, yet within you there remains a place that is not overthrown. That is not coincidence. It is my seal, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. Philippians 4:7. That peace is not a passing pleasant feeling, but a holy guardianship over your soul. It does not always calm the sea immediately, but it keeps the sea from taking possession of you. The second sign is that the light in your eyes is no longer extinguished by fear as it once was. You may still face difficulty, and there may still be days when you must take a deep breath in order to stand firm. But within you, there is a lamp that refuses to go out. When you realize that you no longer look at the future only through self-protection, but through a gentle trust, that is a sign that I am restoring your vision. As it is written, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. That light does not need to illuminate the whole ocean in a single moment. It only needs to shine upon the next right step. And the one who obeys in the next step will not wander out of my hand. The third sign, my beloved, is the change in your prayer. In the past, you may often have asked, why is this happening to me? I do not condemn you for that question, because I know the days when you were in pain and the moments when you did not understand. But as your soul begins to mature, that question will be transformed. You will begin to say, Father, let me see what you are forming within me through this. And deeper still, you will be able to say, I give thanks that I have been chosen to walk through this journey with you. That is not a denial of tears, nor is it calling pain light. It is a deeper level of faith, where you no longer seek only an explanation, but seek my presence, where you no longer ask only to escape the path, but ask to become the right person within that path. Therefore, set sail with a steady heart. My child, let the old points be connected in a new light. Believe that I have gone before you into the places where your feet have not yet stepped. Let the wind move you forward instead of making you shrink back. Let peace confirm you, light guide you, and gratitude expand within you. You are no longer one swept away by life. You are one positioned by me in the current of purpose. The ocean before you is not the end of safety, but the space where I will reveal my faithfulness. Go, my beloved. I am with you upon the sea, in the wind, amid the stillness, and in every heartbeat that is learning to trust. What I have begun, I will bring to completion. What I have spoken, I will lead you into, and the destiny I prepared for you from the beginning will not be swallowed by any wave, because you belong to me. My beloved child, be at peace and listen to my voice in the depths. For what I am speaking to you is not a call that makes you heavier, but a gentle establishment that places you in the very position I prepared for you long ago. I am not merely leading you across the ocean as one rescued from the edge of danger. I am teaching you to understand the language of that ocean. I am not merely helping you pass through strong winds like one fortunate enough to escape a storm. I am training the ear of your soul to discern which wind has come to test you, which wind has come to carry you deeper, and which wind is my breath blowing into the sail of destiny. I do not merely want to bring you to a distant destination and then leave you standing outside. Looking back upon your journey, I am forming within you a life that carries that very destination, so that wherever you enter, that place begins to sense the trace of peace, authority, and light I have placed within you. For as it is written, the kingdom of God is within you, Luke 17:21. What I am doing in you is not only changing outward circumstances, but building a quiet kingdom within your soul. Therefore, do not step onto your vessel with the tension of one who must predict every wave in advance. Step aboard with an unshakable peace, not because you have seen the whole map, but because you know the one who leads you never takes the wrong path. There are some who can only move when every question has been answered, every sign has been displayed, and every danger has been removed. But you are called into a faith deeper than that. This faith does not demand that the sea be calm before believing I am Lord of the sea. This faith does not require the future to unfold completely before daring to obey. This faith stands upon my word and says, if the Father has spoken, I will step forward. Just as Abraham went out not knowing where he was going, Hebrews 11:8, and yet that very obedience turned his steps into the beginning of a covenant. So it is with you, my beloved. There are doors of destiny that open only when your feet are willing to leave the old shore. I know this feeling is unfamiliar to you. The wind has shifted, and your soul is beginning to recognize something it has not been accustomed to, the current of my will carrying you forward. In the past, you became used to bracing yourself, guarding yourself, reading every danger, and preparing for the worst, as though life were only a series of storms waiting to break over you. You became so accustomed to living in survival mode that when peace came near, you even questioned it. You became used to the safe zone of familiarity, though many times that place imprisoned you in fear more than it gave you freedom. But I speak to you with the love of a father. Survival is not the destination I have appointed for you. I did not create you merely to breathe from one day to the next. I did not keep you through storms, so you would forever stand trembling at the water's edge. I preserved you so you could mature. I lifted you so you could stand firm. I healed you so you could enter the inheritance your once fragile heart was not yet able to carry. Your vessel was not built in one hurried moment. My beloved, it is not a sudden gift that fell upon your life without a sacred history behind it. It was built from the days when you remained faithful, though no one called your name. From the nights when you still prayed, though tears were the only language left. From the times when you chose to stay with me, when an exit seemed easier. And from patience forged in the secret place. I do not use the material of haste to build your destiny. I use what is enduring within your soul. Obedience when you were not understood. Tenderness after wounds, trust after delays, and love that still burned quietly, even through seasons that seemed like cold ashes. The one who built his house on the rock was not destroyed when the rain fell. The floods came, and the winds beat against it. Matthew 7:24-25. I myself have built you upon that rock, not so you would display yourself, but so you would stand firm when the waters rise. Remember Nehemiah. who heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down and whose heart was shattered before the desolation of his people. He did not rush forward in impulsive emotion, nor did he rebuild the city with lament alone. He prayed, waited for the appointed time, received permission, and then returned with a clear vision. When enemies mocked, threatened, and distorted his work, he did not abandon what he had been called to build. He set watchmen in place, took up weapons, and continued rebuilding. What looked like ruin in the eyes of others became the place where I revealed restoration. Do you see? I do not only give you vision, I train you to carry that vision through pressure without losing heart. There may be times when one hand must build while the other remains watchful, but if I am with you, the wall will be rebuilt. The vessel will leave the harbor, and what I have ordained will not be stopped by the voice of opposition. As it is written, the God of heaven himself will prosper us. Nehemiah 2:20. Now, as that vessel begins to pull away from the old shore, I know there is wonder within you. One part of your soul rejoices because it recognizes that a new season has come. Yet another part still looks back toward the familiar place where you once learned how to protect yourself. I do not condemn you for that feeling. To separate from an old harbor is not only to change your position, it is to let an old identity fall away from you. The one who once only knew how to survive must learn to become one who is sent. The one who once only knew how to avoid the waves must learn to read the wind. The one who once thought safety meant no movement must learn that in me, there are movements where true peace is revealed. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. 2 Corinthians 3:17. That liberty does not always look like a quiet stretch of land. Sometimes it looks like a sail filled with wind, like a widening horizon, like my voice telling you to leave the place whose season has ended. My beloved child, from this point on, you will gradually realize that you are no longer searching for destiny like a lost person looking for outward signs. You are living in destiny when you live in obedience. Destiny is not only some distant day when everything is complete, it begins in every choice you place beneath my word. When you forgive instead of hardening your heart, you are living in destiny. When you move forward instead of returning to fear, you are living in destiny. When you keep peace in the midst of what remains unclear, you are living in destiny. When you allow me to correct your motives, purify your words, guide your thoughts, and soften your heart, you are already within the current I ordained for you from eternity. Do not think destiny is only something radiant before the eyes of others. Many times, destiny begins with hidden faithfulness in the place no one sees but me. Therefore, let my breath set the rhythm of your journey. I am not standing far away, directing you like an echo from the other shore. I am within you, nearer than your fear, deeper than your questions, more enduring than every changing emotion within you. When you are about to rush, I will remind you to slow down. When you feel yourself wanting to shrink back, I will lift your heart. When you do not know whether to speak or remain silent, to advance or stop, to release or hold on, I will teach you by my peace. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Psalm 32:8. You have not been left alone in the middle of the sea. My eye is upon you. My hand is beneath you. My spirit is within you, and my word goes before you like an unfailing light. So step onto your vessel and rest. Leave the old harbor without resentment, for it was once a place I used to keep you for a season. But do not return and turn that place into the home of your future. Let the new wind fill your sail. Let the current of my will replace the old habit of bracing yourself. Let your heart stop defining itself by the times when you were merely trying to exist. For I am calling you into more abundant life. You are not only being carried across the sea, You are becoming one who understands the sea. You are not only being rescued from the storm, you are becoming a witness that my peace can stand firm in the midst of the storm. You are not only moving toward a destination, you are carrying the seal of that destination within your very soul. And from today onward, as every rhythm, every step, and every movement of the journey unfolds, remember that I ordained this from eternity. You belong to me. You are led by me, and you will not wander away from the path my love has drawn for you. My beloved child, listen to this with the deepest stillness in your heart. I have not given you an empty journey and then told you to manage on your own upon the wide sea. I have placed holy instruments within your life, not as ornaments, but as marks of preparation from heaven. The helm in your hand is not only the ability to choose a direction, it is a reflection of my word, alive within you. When the waves rise, that word does not rise and disappear like foam. When the wind changes direction, that word does not bend under pressure. When circumstances roar, that word still stands firm, like an eternal rock. As it is written, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Matthew 24:35. Therefore, when you hold the helm, do not hold it with the panic of one who sees only the storm, but with the certainty of one who knows that my word within you has greater power than the noise outside you. I have also placed within you a compass unlike the compass of the world. People often seek direction in noise, in agreement, in outward signs, in things that can be measured by the eyes. But I have sown within your spirit a compass of peace, a holy knowing that is not controlled by the chaos around you. There may be times when everything outside has not yet become completely clear, but within you there is a quiet stream bearing witness. This is the way. Walk in it, as I have spoken. When you turn to the right hand or when you turn to the left, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, this is the way. Walk in it. Isaiah 30:21. That voice does not always sound like thunder. Many times it comes as a gentle, yet certain peace, like the thin light of early morning, like a hand placed upon your heart to keep you from rushing. Do not despise that peace, for it is the way I often confirm your direction. And look up at the sail I have raised within you. That sail was not sown from the certainty of what the eyes can see, nor was it stretched by the shallow promises of men. It was woven from faith, from the times when you believed before you saw, from the seasons when you remained with me, though the answer had not yet come, from the moments when you chose obedience, though your mind did not yet fully understand the path. That faith is not weak uncertainty. It is sacred material, able to receive my wind. Without a sail, strong wind only frightens you. But when the sail is raised in trust, the very wind that once made you tremble becomes the force that carries you deeper into destiny. For faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. You do not need to see the whole horizon to know you are being led. You only need to keep the sail of faith open before my breath. I have also anchored you by my very name. My beloved, not by your reputation, not by your achievements, not by the fragile stability of your emotions, but by my name, the name above every name, the name that does not decay, does not shake, and does not fail. When you need to stop in the midst of a restless sea, my name is the place where your soul is anchored. When the currents pull you back toward old fears, my name keeps you from drifting away from the truth. When night falls and you cannot yet see the shore, my name reminds you that you are not without an owner, not lost, not abandoned. As it is written, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. Proverbs 18:10. Call upon my name not as a cold ritual, but as a child calling to his father with the sure trust that the father is near. Do you see? Your life has never lacked design. What you thought was random, I am joining into a greater structure. The days when you thought you had gone off course, I was using to realign the depth within you. The times when you thought you had lost time, I was teaching you patience. The tears you thought had only fallen in loneliness, I gathered in my tenderness. For you number my wanderings, put my tears into your bottle. Psalm 56:8. Not one drop has been despised. Not one sigh has been overlooked. Not one choked prayer has vanished into emptiness. People may not see what it cost you, but I see. People may only look at the final result. But I was there in every night when you were being built in hiddenness. Remember Bezalel in the days of Moses. My beloved, when I commanded the tabernacle to be built, I did not choose the one who would do that work by impulse. I filled Bezalel with my spirit, giving him wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and craftsmanship to make the holy things according to the pattern that had been revealed. The curtains, the boards, the golden rings, the altars, and the things that seemed separate all had their own place, measure, and purpose in the sanctuary. No detail was left to randomness. Because what is built for, my presence must carry my order. So it is with your life. There are parts you thought were as small as a clasp, a cord, or a piece of rough fabric in memory. But I know where they belong in the greater work. At the appointed time, you will see that even the smallest details have contributed to the place where I dwell and to what I reveal through you. Therefore, the vessel upon which you now stand is not merely a means of moving from one season into another. It is a spiritual inheritance. It was built not only for a moment of emotion, but for a lasting movement within my eternal purpose. Within its frame, it carries the history of faithfulness, the traces of tears, the fragrance of prayer, the endurance of seasons of waiting, and the light of the promises I have spoken over you. You are not merely the one who uses this vessel. You are the one who inherits what I have built through the seasons. There are blessings not meant for you to enjoy alone, but so that through you, other souls may also find direction. There are victories I give you not only so you may rejoice, but so they may become a testimony for those who are still standing on the shore in fear. My beloved, understand that spiritual inheritance is not like the passing possessions of the world. The world measures inheritance by what can be held in the hand, written on paper, and counted in numbers. But I measure inheritance by life that is passed on, by light that is preserved, by faith that is handed down, and by footsteps of obedience that open a way for others. Abraham received the promise, but that promise did not stop with his lifetime. It flowed through generations. David was anointed, but the covenant I made with him carried its echo all the way to Christ. In the same way, what I am placing upon you does not serve only today. When you walk in faithfulness, you are sowing a pathway for those who will be touched by my light through your life. The vessel upon which you stand carries a dimension greater than personal safety. It carries the seal of calling. Therefore, do not walk as one poor in spirit, hoping only to receive enough to get through the day. You are an heir, not a beggar seeking temporary shelter outside the Father's house. But remember, inheritance in me always comes with maturity. An heir does not use what has been entrusted with haste, but with reverence. An heir does not treat grace as something for self-display, but as something for service. An heir does not forget the origin of the vessel upon which he stands, because he knows that every plank, every sail rope, and every anchor is evidence of my hand. As it is written, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. Romans 8:17. You are not called to live small in fear, but neither are you called to live greatly in pride. You are called to carry inheritance with radiant humility. Now, place your hand upon the helm of my word. Look toward the compass of peace. Let the sail of faith open wide, and anchor your heart in my name. Do not view your life as a boat patched together by random events. I have designed it with wisdom that does not err. Do not despise the old tears. They have soaked into the wood of endurance. Do not be ashamed of the slow seasons. They have reinforced the body of the vessel. Do not fear the wide sea. This vessel was not built merely to be seen from the harbor, but to operate in the current of destiny. I am with you. I am within you. I go before you. And what I have entrusted to you is not only a journey, but an inheritance. Set sail as one who belongs to me, as one called by a name of your own, as one who knows that every detail of your life has been joined by me into an eternal structure. For you are not merely crossing the sea, you are carrying my promise upon the sea. And every wave must bow before the name that has anchored your soul. My beloved child, now let your soul receive this as a new garment placed upon you by my hand. Everything I have led you through no longer stands separately as scattered fragments of memory. The tears, the seasons of waiting, the times when you chose to believe without evidence, the nights when you still clung to me, though your heart was weary. The small steps you thought no one saw, all of it is being gathered by me, refined by me, and crystallized into a new identity within you. You are not only one who has survived many difficult seasons. You are not only one who has crossed the sea, stood firm against the wind, and learned to hear my voice amid the noise. I am placing you in the position of a true heir in my kingdom. As it is written, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. Romans 8:17. That word is not a distant idea for you to admire from the outside. It is the truth I am engraving deep within your soul. You once stood near the promise and still felt as though you were on the outer edge. You once heard of blessing and still wondered whether that portion was truly meant for you. You once watched others step through open doors while your heart whispered in solitude, when will it be my turn? But I speak to you with unchanging love. You have never been excluded from my inheritance. There were seasons when I kept you out of sight, not to reject you, but to prepare you. There were times when I did not immediately give you what you desired, not because you were unloved, but because I did not want the gift to become a weight upon you before your heart was steady enough to carry it. Now, you no longer stand at the edge of the promise like one begging for a glimpse. You are standing in the right of inheritance, not by your own merit, but by my grace, not by your own strength, but by the covenant I have established, not by a worthiness you created for yourself, but by the love that has called you my child. A true heir does not live in haste. My beloved, they do not run like one afraid of being left behind, because they know that what belongs to them in me cannot be stolen by time, by people, or by circumstances. One who does not yet understand that he is a child will hurry, compare, cross, and become anxious when he sees others move ahead. But one who knows he belongs to me learns rest. He can wait without withering, because he knows his Father has not forgotten. He can walk slowly without shame, because he knows the rhythm of heaven is not ruled by the urgency of the world. He can look at doors that have not yet opened and still have peace in his heart, because he trusts that the Lord will perfect that which concerns me. Psalm 138:8. My beloved, the waiting of an heir is not like the waiting of one abandoned. It is the maturity of one who knows that the treasure he will receive is being kept in the hands of the faithful one. In the same way, an heir does not panic before loss, as though every treasure were held in the hands of people. I know you have feared losing things, losing an opportunity, losing recognition, losing someone beside you, losing a door, losing a season you once thought was the only way forward. But I am teaching you that your true treasure is not in the changeable hands of human beings. It is kept in me. What I have appointed for you is not canceled because one person does not understand you, because a door closes, because a season ends, or because a plan falls apart. When Job lost nearly everything that could be seen, his story did not end in ashes. I met him in the depths, restored the clarity of his understanding, and restored him not only with possessions, but with a greater knowing of me. Therefore, do not measure your inheritance by what still lies in your hands today. There are things I remove so your hands may be emptied for what is pure. There are things I allow to leave your life so the true treasure will no longer be mixed with what only appeared to shine. An heir also does not react with fear before storms, because he understands that even the raging sea does not exceed my sovereign rule. When the disciples were in the boat amid the storm, they thought they were about to sink, while the Savior was asleep in the vessel. They woke him in terror, but he rose, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Mark Fura, Trechenio. And the wind ceased, and the sea became calm. Do you see, my beloved? The issue is not that the boat will never meet a storm. The issue is who is in the boat with you. An heir does not deny the storm, but he does not let the storm sit upon the throne. He does not pretend the waves are not high, but he remembers that every wave must bow before my voice. Therefore, when circumstances begin to move, you do not need to lose yourself. You do not need to let fear write the final word. You can stand in peace, because that peace does not come from a calm sea, but from the one who rules the sea. I have given you the authority of peace in the midst of the storm. My beloved, this is not a weak peace trying to cover trembling with strong words. It is a peace rooted in identity. When you know you are a child, you no longer have to prove that you belong in the Father's house. When you know you are an heir, you no longer have to beg before the things I have already prepared in covenant. When you know I am with you, you no longer treat every trial as a sentence over your future. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, John 14:27. The peace I give is not like the peace of the world. The world is only calm when the wind is stopped. I make your heart calm, even while the wind is still blowing. The world only believes when it sees the outcome. I teach you to believe because you know who your Father is. And I say this to you clearly, leaving no room for doubt to keep hiding in the shadows. That person is you. You are the one I am calling to step into the identity of inheritance. You are the one I have forged through the hidden season. You are the one I have kept through deep waters. You are the one I have taught to wait without bitterness, to lose without being shattered, to stand in the storm without surrendering your soul to fear. Do not call yourself by the name of your past any longer. Do not say, "I am the one who was delayed." I call you one who has been prepared. Do not say, "I am the one who has lost too much." I call you one who has been refined to receive what cannot perish. Do not say, "I am the one who once lost direction." I call you one who is being positioned in my inheritance. Remember the prodigal son when he returned to his father's house. He came back with the mindset of one who only hoped to be made a servant, because sin and shame had caused him to forget his identity as a son. But the father did not leave him standing outside in the yard beneath the weight of condemnation. He ran out, embraced him, clothed him with the best robe, placed a ring on his hand, put sandals on his feet, and held a feast of celebration. That robe did not merely cover shame, it restored identity. That ring was not merely an ornament, it was the sign of the right to belong in the Father's house. My beloved, I also do not allow you to return to me with the posture of one standing outside begging for a crumb of bread. I restore you in sonship. I place the seal of inheritance upon you again. I do not want you to live as a stranger in your own home. Therefore, rise in humility, but also in certainty. When you pray, do not pray like one forgotten, trying to persuade me to remember you. Pray like a child drawing near to a faithful father. When you step into the new season, do not step like one afraid of being pushed out. Step like one who knows he has been called by his own name. When the waves rise, do not ask whether you have been excluded from the promise. Remember that no storm can cancel your right of inheritance. When you must wait, do not treat waiting as proof of rejection. See it as the room where I ripen what I am about to entrust to you. My beloved child, from today onward, let this new identity shape the way you see everything. You do not live from lack, but from fullness in me. You do not search for worth, because your worth has already been established in my love. You do not strive for inheritance, because what belongs to you in me will come in the right time and in the right way. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to panic. And you do not need to react like one who has no father. I have called you my child. I have placed you in my house. I have written your portion in my inheritance. And what I speak over you today will stand stronger than every voice that ever made you doubt. You are a true heir in my kingdom, kept by my name, led by my hand, and prepared to carry my peace into the very places that once made you afraid.